You're studying a lot, but you still forget almost everything the next day. You reread the same pages, you try to focus harder, and you spend hours trying to memorize things, yet nothing really sticks. It feels like you're doing everything right, but your brain just refuses to cooperate. And that's exactly why this is so frustrating. But here's the truth most people never realize. This isn't happening because you're not smart enough or not disciplined enough. It's happening because the way you're learning goes directly against how your brain is designed to work. And here's where it gets interesting. In Japan, students memorize over 2,000 kanji, not by studying longer, but by studying differently. Instead of passively reviewing, they use methods that force the brain to actively work, making memory deeper and longer lasting. It only takes about 10 to 20 seconds at a time, but it can outperform hours of traditional studying. The best part is, you don't need to apply everything perfectly. Even using just one part of this method can already make a noticeable difference. And as you go further, you'll discover there are a few unexpected ideas behind it that completely change how you think about memory. In most places, people still rely on methods that overwhelm the brain. Long study sessions, constant pressure to focus, and the belief that more effort always leads to better results. But what actually happens is the opposite. The longer you force your brain, the more fatigued it becomes and the less it retains. Japanese learners approach this differently. Instead of asking, "How can I study more?" they ask, "How does the brain decide what to remember?" Because once you understand that, everything changes. Your brain is not designed to store large blocks of information all at once. It works based on signals and relevance. When you try to cram too much at the same time, your brain treats it as temporary data and quickly discards it to save energy. That's not a flaw. It's a survival mechanism. But memory is not fixed. It's a system you can influence. Here's a simple way to understand it. Imagine you look at a piece of information for just 15 seconds in the morning. Then you see it again at lunch. Then again in the evening. You're not trying to memorize it. You're just exposing your brain to it multiple times. The next day, you suddenly realize you remember it without effort. That's because your brain doesn't prioritize how long you study. It prioritizes how often information appears. This is the core idea behind many Japanese learning methods. Memory is not driven by intensity. It is driven by frequency and rhythm. But this alone isn't enough. Your brain is constantly deciding what to keep and what to ignore. And it does that by looking for signals. When something repeats with a pattern, your brain starts to think, "This might be important." Now here's the part most people miss. If you pair information with a small, consistent action, you create a trigger. That trigger becomes a signal that tells your brain to switch into memory mode. This works because your brain naturally links physical actions with mental states, just like habits become automatic over time. This is where the Japanese method becomes powerful. It's not about working harder. It's about working in alignment with your brain. The method is built on two simple elements. The first is ultra-short repetition. Instead of studying for long periods, you review information for about 10 to 20 seconds at a time. That's it. Just quick exposures repeated multiple times throughout the day. The goal is not to force memorization. The goal is to send repeated signals. The second element is the memory trigger. Before each quick review, you perform a small action. It could be tapping your notebook, taking a slow breath, or lightly tapping your fingers on the table. The action itself doesn't matter. What matters is consistency. Over time, your brain starts to associate that action with focus and memory. It becomes a switch. When you combine these two elements, something changes. You stop forcing your brain to remember, and your brain starts doing it automatically. The information becomes stronger with each repetition without feeling exhausting. And here's how you can apply it. Pick one small piece of information, something simple. Choose a trigger you can do anywhere. Then look at that information for 10 to 20 seconds. Stop, go back to your day, and repeat this several times. That's it. No long sessions, no pressure, just frequency. And to make it even more effective, there's one final step. Right before you go to sleep, spend 10 to 20 seconds reviewing the most important thing you learned that day. This works because your brain consolidates information during sleep, and the last thing you focus on gets prioritized. Japanese students use this constantly. For exams, for languages, for formulas. It's simple, but it works because it aligns perfectly with how the brain stores information. When you combine short repetitions during the day with this small nighttime reinforcement, your memory starts to improve faster than you expect. Within a few days, you'll notice something different. You're not trying as hard to remember. The information just comes back to you when you need it. And that's when you realize something important. The problem was never that you needed to study more. You just needed a smarter system. So try this tonight. Pick one thing, keep it simple, and see if your brain recalls it tomorrow without effort. Because once you experience it yourself, you'll start to see that learning doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be done the right way.